Atomic Habits can help you get your life back on track. James Clear is a leading expert on habit formation and reveals strategies to break bad habits. You will learn how small daily habits can have a huge impact on your life and future. The problem isn't you, but your system, if you find that you struggle to change your habits. Your brain is wired to complete easy activities that you can do quickly. James Clear has a system that will help you change your habits and take your life to new heights. Through this book, you will learn how to make time for new habits, overcome a lack of motivation and willpower, design your environment to make success easier, and learn how tracking your habits and finding an accountability partner will help you succeed.
Chapter 1: Why Small Habits Can Make a Big Difference. Many people focus on the wrong thing when it comes to success. They focus on the end goal and believe big decisions will get them to their final destination. This couldn't be further from the truth. If you decline 1% a day, you will decline to 0, which is 37 times better than you were. The small habits that matter are the ones that make the biggest difference. A plane from Los Angeles to New York needs a certain degree of direction to get there. Imagine if the pilot adjusted his course to the south. The adjustment is so small that many people wouldn't even notice. The passengers would notice a big change upon landing. The small course adjustment would change their final destination from New York to Washington, D.C. The impact is not seen immediately and we don't notice small changes. The impact can be huge, but it cannot be seen for months or even years. If you eat a slice of pizza every night for dinner, you will see a change in your weight over the course of a year, even if you don't think you're overweight. Taking a yoga class for 30 minutes a day won't make you in shape. It is small habits that compound into major results. Results in life are a measure of how you act. The net worth of a person is a measure of their financial habits, the same is true of their health. Time magnifies the margin between success and failure, which is why our daily choices have a bigger impact than we realize. If you want to predict where you will end up, follow the curve of your daily choices. Bad habits can affect us just as easily as a good habit can build us up, so it is important to understand how you can design your daily habits to your advantage. The key is to make small changes to your behavior that will become habits that will lead to big results. Chapter 2 is about how to treat habits. How many times have you started a good habit, like exercise or meditation, only to find it hard to stick to? Many people try to change their habits the wrong way, which is a challenge to change. To change our habits, we must first understand how they are formed. The process of habit building can be broken down into 4 steps. When you first get into your car, think about what you do. You probably put the key in the car, check your mirrors, and then head on your way. You don't think about the process, you just do it. It is a habit that you have repeated many times and it becomes automatic. How are habits formed? A cue or a trigger is what starts the habit. You can get from one destination to the next by performing an action that gets you into your car. The second step is when you want to go somewhere. Put the car in drive and leave. The reward is a feeling of comfort or relief when you arrive at your destination safely. You can apply this habit loop to many habits you do daily. You should brush your teeth in the morning. Eating breakfast or drinking coffee will make you want to feel fresh and clean. You should head to the bathroom sink and get your toothbrush. Your reward is a mouth that is fresh and ready to take on the day. The cue always causes a craving. A reward is given and the craving is satisfied. The cue and craving phase of the habit loop is where our behaviors are driven by a desire to solve a problem. The problem phase might include the cue of your phone buzzing with a new text message. The craving is that you want to learn more about that message. The solution phase comes after that. You unlocked your phone by grabbing it. The reward is satisfying the craving. When we adopt bad habits, we see the effects years later and it becomes harder to break them. It is important to understand the habit loop so you can learn how to create better habits. How can you begin to create better habits? Chapter 3. Make it obvious. When we get a cue, such as the buzzing of our phone or the drinking of coffee, we are asked to check our messages or brush our teeth. You can learn how to change your actions to implement better habits once you understand how our actions can be influenced by certain stimuli. Anne Thorndike, a primary care physician at the Massachusetts General Hospital in Boston, believed she could improve the eating habits of thousands of hospital staff and visitors by manipulating their environment. She decided to put bottled water in the fridges next to the cash register. She added bottled water to every drinking station in the cafeteria. The number of bottled water sold increased by 25.8% over the 3 months. People made healthier choices by making simple adjustments because they were more likely to drink water. Our vision is the most powerful sensory ability in humans. The human body has over 10 million sight-only sensory receptors. The highest motivation for behaviors is visual cue. A small change in what we see can lead to a big change in what we do. We can design our environment to our advantage. But how? If you want to practice guitar, you should start practicing. If you keep your guitar locked away in a box, you will be less likely to practice. You should place your guitar in the middle of a room. If you want to eat healthier, place your snacks on the counter instead of hiding them in the pantry. Want to work out more? Put your workout clothes and sneakers out the night before so you can see them when you wake up. Creating visual cues can help you with your habit. You can create desired cues by practicing implementation intentions. This means that you have a plan in place before you do anything. You are more likely to stick with your habits if you create a plan. A study of voters in the United States found that citizens who were asked, "How will you get to the voting station?" were more likely to vote than those who were simply asked if they would vote. If you want to exercise more often, you should set a plan and say, "On Monday, Wednesday, and Friday I'm going to spin class after work," and then pack a bag with you to bring for work and leave it in the front seat of your car. Chapter 4. Make it attractive. We are bombarded with advertisements every day that are aimed at making us look better. Society is filled with highly doctored versions of reality as we engineer our photographs with ideal lighting, photoshopped edits and exaggerated features to make products more appealing and attractive to consumers. Our habits can be applied to the same way. The more attractive a thing is, the more likely we are to use it. When we eat food or have sex, our brains release a hormone called dopamine, which makes us feel good. Our brain releases dopamine when we anticipate pleasurable activities, so we don't have to actually do those activities. Remember when you were a child and Christmas morning was exciting? Children anticipate the receiving of gifts and Santa visits, and the dopamine is released in their brains, which makes them feel good. Some activities that make us feel good aren't necessarily good for us. People become addicted to sex, drugs, and food because they feel good in the moments leading up to and during the activity. These addictions can affect our health. It is important to use our knowledge to our advantage when it comes to forming good, healthy habits. If we make a habit of looking forward to something, we will be more likely to follow through. One way to do this is through temptation. Temptation bundling is a way to make habits more attractive by linking them with an action you need to do. In this example, the student decided that he needed to exercise more, but he didn't want to. Many of us can relate to a problem. We can probably relate to the fact that Ronan liked watching the service. His solution? He hacked an exercise bike and connected it to his laptop, but he didn't want to watch the show while riding. He wrote a code that only allowed the service to be played if he was cycling at a certain speed. He linked an activity that he hated with one he liked. You don't need to be an engineer to apply this tip to your own habits, because you don't need to be an engineer to hack an exercise bike. You can either download your favorite shows to watch while on the treadmill or reward yourself with a half hour of the internet service after hitting your work goals. Chapter 5. Make it easy. The film photography students at the University of Florida were assigned a project by Jerry Uselman, a professor. He divided the students into two groups. The first group was told that their grade depended on the amount of photos they submitted. 100 photos earned an A, 90 photos a B, 80 a C, and so on. The second group would be graded on the quality of one photo. Which group did you think got the better grade? The group of numbers. But why? The quantity group was able to hone their skills in the process of creating hundreds of photos, while the quality group spent their time making just one perfect photo. This concept can be applied to our daily routines. People are too focused on figuring out the best approach to take action. They may plan, research, and plan, but never act on their plans. The key to mastering any habit is to stop worrying about how long it will take to form a new habit. Instead, make it easy and simply do it. Many of us are motivated to do things that are easy. The less energy a habit requires, the less likely it is to be repeated. Even the most difficult habits can be made easy with many tips and tricks. The habit of sending cards for celebrations is a nice one, but the effort of going to the store, picking one out, and writing a message makes us less likely to do it. The author's wife has created a hack to make it easier to send cards. The author and his wife are more likely to send cards if they buy cards in bulk and store them in the house. They made the process easy so that people don't have to go to the store to buy cards. You can use this tool to stop bad habits as well. Making it impractical to break a bad habit is the best way to break it. If you want to stop watching TV when you come home from work, you should take the batteries out of the TV and put them into the remote. You will be less likely to try and form a new habit when you turn on the TV. The 2-minute rule is a way to make habit forming easy. The rule is to start small and make it easy to start. If you want to study for a class, you can start with the basics and then tell yourself to open my notes. Maybe you want to do yoga after work. Instead of saying, I need to do 30 minutes of yoga, tell yourself, take out my yoga mat. By breaking down the habit into simple steps, you will be more likely to form long-term habits. Chapter 6 is about making it slay. Making a long-term habit satisfying is the last step. Successful companies use this concept to their advantage. When mint was added to toothpaste, it was a great success. Mint made brushing teeth enjoyable because it made people feel fresh and new. If an experience is not satisfying, it may not be repeated again. Stephen Luby was a public health researcher in Pakistan in the 1990s. Luby achieved a 52% reduction in the number of local children who had scurvy. Pneumonia rates dropped by 48% and skin infections dropped by 35%. How did he achieve this? Good soap was introduced. Hand washing is a basic hygiene skill that you can learn if you grew up in a westernized society. The locals of the Pakistani neighborhood didn't create a habit of washing their hands. Luby and the company that makes the soap he uses, Procter & Gamble, collaborated to bring a premium soap to the neighborhood. Hand washing became satisfying overnight. The new soap lathered well and smelled nice. People now enjoy the experience and make a habit of washing their hands. While washing our hands or brushing our teeth brings immediate satisfaction, many other habits don't. This is called a delayed reward environment. We might not get a paycheck until the end of the month, but we go to work every day. You won't see the benefits of weight loss and toned muscles until weeks or even months later, but you may start going to the gym every morning. Habits that result in immediate satisfaction might have delayed consequences. People still smoke when they know the risks. The consequence of cancer might not come until 20 years later, but at the moment it relieves stress and satisfies that nicotine craving. It is important to attach immediate gratification to the habits you want to pursue. The author tells about his friends who wanted to stop going out to eat so they could save more money. They opened a savings account and transferred money from their meal-out habit to the account. Seeing money in their savings made them feel immediate satisfaction, so they kept up the habit. They made their habit enjoyable and eventually saw rewards when they saved enough money to book their trip. Chapter 7 deals with the importance of bung tracking. It can be difficult to kick a bad habit. Sometimes satisfaction is delayed and we give up on our healthy habits. We want to see progress when we kick habits like smoking. Habit tracking can be used to measure your progress visually. Habit tracking is a simple technique to ensure you stay on track. This technique is not new. Benjamin Franklin was able to track his habits, as he started carrying a booklet everywhere at the age of 20. Franklin recorded his personal virtues in his booklet. His virtues included activities to avoid, like frivolous conversations, but also included things he should do that are useful. Franklin would record his successes and make a diary of his healthy habits. The most simple technique is to cross off your daily habits on a calendar. You will be more likely to follow your habits if you keep a diary or calendar. Tracking is an attractive habit and it creates a visual measure of your progress. You will feel a sense of anticipation when you cross off the items on your to-do list at the end of the day. Research shows that people who track their progress on their goals like weight loss, lowering blood pressure, and quitting smoking are more likely to improve than people who don't. Habit contracts and having an accountability partner can change everything. People are more likely to repeat an experience that is satisfying, but they are also more likely to avoid an experience that is painful or expensive. When there is an immediate consequence, behavior changes. University students are more likely to show up to class if their grades are affected. The students know the consequences of not showing up. You can use the same logic to form positive habits. Brian Harris, an entrepreneur in Nashville, created a habit contract to keep him on task for working out. He had his wife and personal trainer sign a contract that made him commit to losing weight. Brian tracked his food intake and weighed himself weekly to reach his goal. Penalties were set for not doing these things. If he failed to track his food intake, he would have to pay his trainer $100, and if he failed to weigh himself, he would have to pay his wife $500. Brian cared about what his trainer and his wife thought about him, so he was able to keep his habit contract. He didn't want to let them down. He knew that someone was watching him and he could be enough motivation for success. Signing a habit contract or getting an accountability partner is a good way to implement healthy habits. Chapter 8 is the final one. The small things we do each day that have the biggest impact on our lives are what many people believe are the keys to success. It is important that we adopt healthy habits to ensure we live a long, successful life. It is easier to form new habits than it is to do it. There are many tips and tricks to help you change your habits. Habit forming includes making it obvious, attractive, easy, and satisfying. You will be more likely to keep up with your habits if you make them easy to remember. An accountability partner and a habit contract will help you start new healthy habits.